Hi, friends. It's Corey with Her True North Wellness. And today we're talking about nutrition, your body's cues, and why you aren't failing when you feel hungry. How many of you have felt like a failure when it comes to your diet, your wellness routine, progressing towards your weight loss goals? If you just had more willpower, you could stick with it this time, right? How many of you have had that thought? I know that I have. I have definitely struggled with that over the years for a very long time until I started to understand more about what my body truly needed and what my body was trying to tell me when I felt hungry. I hope that in today's conversation, we can help you better understand your body, understand the cues that it's giving you, empower you to lead with a different approach and make some small shifts that are going to help empower you to move towards your goal versus holding you back or have you feeling like you're constantly fighting against yourself. Did you know that your body is incredibly intelligent? Our bodies will quickly adjust and do whatever it takes for us to survive. Whether we're not drinking enough water, we're not taking in enough protein, we're not eating balanced carbohydrates, our body will shift, pivot, and adjust as needed for us to wake up, go through our day, and sustain itself the best that it can for as long as it can. Now, is that going to lead to fatigue, some issues down the road if we're constantly stressing our body and making it make those pivots? Yes. But that's why I hope that today's conversation is going to help empower you to listen to those cues and learn how to pivot yourself to better support your body, support your goals, and feel empowered when you're making choices for yourself. Have you ever noticed at certain times of the month that you feel more hungry than others? Maybe you haven't listened to your body enough or been aware enough to understand that there's almost a rhythm when it comes to your hunger cues. This was me a couple years ago when I switched to tracking my macronutrients, following a calorie-based meal plan versus following a restricted diet, learning how to truly nourish my body. And I was very regimented in following the plan that I was using, tracking my weight, and tracking my hunger cues. How was I feeling? What was my energy like? How was I sleeping? And what was my hunger level in certain seasons of that journey? And for months, I kept finding that I was really hungry at a certain time of the month every month. And so I started to kind of pay attention to that. And it was only usually for a day or two. And I couldn't understand why I was feeling so hungry. My plan was about the same, my routine was the same. I'm very type A and regimented. So I didn't understand until I started looking at where I was in my cycle. And after 3, 4, 5 months of this hunger kind of increasing, at a certain time of the month, I started to pay attention to where I was in my cycle. And then I started to dig into a little bit of research and start to understand why my body was feeling more hungry, even ravenous at times. I would find myself at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just like I was starving. So, after some research and kind of tracking that consistency, I learned that when we are in ovulation or just after ovulation, our body will naturally, for most women, will naturally increase our hunger cues because we know that ovulation is a point where a woman can become pregnant. So when we go through ovulation, those next couple of days, as our body is preparing for pregnancy, it will increase our appetite to support a healthy and efficient pregnancy. Now, if you are in the stages of creating a baby and working towards pregnancy, then your body may need that. But for me, we are no longer having more children, and after ovulation, I would have that spike in my hunger cues. And then once my body realized that I was not pregnant, then my appetite would sustain and kind of go back to base level and return to normal for me. And it still happens to this day that I have that spike, but I understand why. So I'm not trying to bully myself or tell myself I don't have enough willpower or that I'm a failure. I can now understand, okay, I'm ovulating right now, tomorrow, and the next day I might feel a little bit more hungry. So maybe I need to increase water. Maybe I need to honor that for my mental health and know that it's just a couple of days and not let it spiral because I understand where that cue is coming from. So, your ovulation may be explaining why certain times of the month you feel more hungry. Likewise, when you're getting close to starting your cycle, you may feel a decrease in appetite. That is also something that is very natural, and our bodies just kind of don't feel as good, and our hormones are fluctuating, and you might not feel as hungry. These are cues that our body is giving us for survival. For a specific reason, they are science backed. But if we don't understand that, then we tend to go into that bully mode or that shame and guilt, and I can't stick with it. I want you to understand what your body is trying to tell you. Okay. Now let's talk about when the willpower is, I'm sorry. So it wasn't willpower and it wasn't that I was failing at executing my plan. It's that my body was sending me a signal, a cue, and I just needed to learn to listen and better understand what it was trying to tell me. A similar cue can happen, and this may be more relatable to those of you who are working on a weight loss goal and you maybe have been in a space of restrictive dieting or following a diet that tends to really cut calories, especially for a long period of time. When we skip breakfast and we're simply running on cortisol and caffeine for the first several hours of the day, do you find yourself getting very hungry in the afternoon, maybe having lunch, a snack, or a good dinner, and then still feeling hungry after you eat dinner before you go to bed at night? I know that this is a struggle that a lot of my clients face when they first come into working with me, and this is something that we talk about. When we restrict calories for the first portion of the day, that's really when our body needs a good, sustainable meal to give us the energy we need throughout the day. I know that our full schedules and the wearing all the different hats as moms and as women, we're doing for everyone else. And we often leave ourselves, kind of on the back burner and forget to eat breakfast or don't prioritize giving ourselves breakfast. So the first time we're eating is maybe noon, 1, 2, 3 o'clock. And then we just feel like we can't catch up. Well, that's your body giving you a signal. It's not that you can't follow through with your plan. It's just that we need to adjust how we're executing our plan. When we eat first thing in the morning, that allows our body to have the fuel that it needs, to have the energy that it needs, versus when we skip breakfast. Remember, our bodies are very intelligent and they start robbing resources from our muscles, from our tissues, and grabbing all the nutrients it needs to help you keep going until you hit that kind of wall or that period in the day where you can't hold back anymore. and then you're playing catch up. And that's what it feels like. You feel like you just cannot fill yourself up enough. And we typically are grabbing, as women with full schedules and the keeper of all things, we're typically grabbing those pre-packaged, processed, easy, simple foods that are digested very quickly and do not help us feel satiated or full when we consume them. They're high calorie, but low nutrient density foods. So they're not truly nourishing us. That's why we keep grabbing for more and more and more. Our body is searching to have the nourishment that it needs. This cycle will continue to repeat until we understand our cues in our body. Think about it. If you don't eat breakfast, you find yourself ravenous in the evening, you have in your mind that you're working on this wellness plan, you're working towards a weight loss goal, you're working towards a physique goal, you want to have more energy, you're trying to figure out your hormones if you're in the perimenopause, menopause era of life. And so you kind of go off the grid in the evening because you're so hungry. And then what happens? The next morning, we get super restrictive again because we failed ourselves. Our willpower didn't stand up for us and we sucked and failed last night. So the next morning, we have to be super restrictive because today I'm going to stay on the plan. I'm not saying that to mock you if that is the cycle that you're in. I am telling you this, that it is not your fault, that I'm giving you permission to get off the hamster wheel and to learn a different way. You are not failing and you are not a failure. We just haven't been taught a sustainable way by society or by big box stores that are earning a profit on you buying all of those very satisfying and high calorie, lacking nutrient foods, right? Like you couldn't sit down and eat 5 apples in a row, but you could certainly sit down and drink 5 glasses of juice or smash 5 bags of chips because the nutrient qualities matter. So let's talk about 3 key principles to help you feel more balanced throughout the day and to help break this cycle of being so restrictive and then ravenous and then restrictive and then ravenous and now understanding why you can't get out of that loop. Number 1, hydrate. Drink water first thing in the morning and often throughout the day. Another fun fact, usually when we have a slump at that 2, 3 o'clock hour, it's typically because we're dehydrated. Sometimes it's because we're behind in nutrients because we didn't have that nutrition or nourishment that we needed first thing in the morning to help keep our energy up through the day. But a lot of times it's because we're dehydrated and we haven't consumed enough water for our body to do all the functions it needs to throughout the day. So hydrate. Number 2 is to nourish your body first thing in the morning. We need most of our energy throughout the day, not while we're sleeping. So when we live in this pattern of being restrictive first thing in the morning until that noon, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, and then we eat the majority of our calories in the evening, and then you're going back to bed at 9, 10 o'clock, you've consumed the majority of your calories to go to bed. Your body doesn't need that extra energy when you're going to bed. Your body needs your energy throughout the day. So something that I teach my girls and that Meg teaches her girls that we collaborate on in our Whole Health Collective is talking about front loading your day. Having nourishment in the morning instead of trying to run on fumes all day. This is not only going to help you feel more satiated and satisfied throughout the day, your energy is going to be more stabilized, and you're going to sleep better at night because you're not revving your body up right before you go to bed. This is why most women thrive, and when their mornings start with protein forward breakfast, but also consume a decent amount of your calories first thing in the morning. So tip number 3 is to keep your meals balanced. I know everyone is talking about protein, and yes, it is so important. It is so important as an aging woman because we tend to lose muscle after we turn 30, 35. We start to lose muscle mass, and we want to help preserve that muscle mass, and we preserve it by consuming adequate amounts of protein. So that is a focus. And for those of us who are strength training, also working to preserve or build our muscle mass as we age, it is important to have that protein to help repair those muscles and build those muscles. However, your carbohydrates and your fats are equally as important. All three of them, protein, carbohydrates, and fats, are macronutrients. That means we need to have all three in larger quantities. Your micronutrients, they are in smaller amounts. Those are your vitamins and minerals. So, working towards having a more balanced meal plan is going to help ensure that your body is taking in the nourishment and nutrients that it needs to thrive, not just survive, but thrive and have good energy and have glowing skin and to sleep good and to feel good is to have all three. Our carbohydrates are sustaining our energy and our brain function. So it's super important for us to consume some carbohydrates. I personally consume the majority of my carbohydrates post-workout, first thing in the morning. That helps to give me the energy and the glycogen to repair my muscles and to replenish my muscles, but also the energy to get through my day. Your protein is going to support satiety, so satiety, and your muscles. Your fat supports your hormones, ladies, your hormones, and the nutrient absorption from your other macronutrients and your vitamins and minerals. All three of them are equally as important. So, in closing, I hope that this information helps you understand your body, the cues it's trying to give you, and can help you make small shifts in your current routine. And as always, if you found this helpful, please make sure that you follow so that you see upcoming trainings as I release those, and share with a friend to help her feel more empowered with her routine, working towards her goals, and to understand her body and the cues that it's giving. Have a great day.